free the land on another great day of resistance. Today, I will be honoring one of the earliest black nationalists, land liberationists, land agents, and attorneys on his transitional date of March 12, 1920. I'm talking about no other than the Honorable Edward P. McCabe, who was one of the earliest political figures and new Africans to hold office in the old American West. He was one of the spearheads of the black migrationist movement to the territory we know today as Oklahoma, and he founded one of the earliest black towns, Langston, Oklahoma. The Great Honorable Edward P. McCabe was born in Troy, New York City, October 10th, 1850. Not much is known about his childhood years, but we do know later on in his teenager years, he would be spearheaded into politics of New York City and later on Chicago. Later on, around 1866, it was already being proposed that land in Oklahoma City be set aside for new African black people in America who wanted to migrate. Later on that year, a bill would be created out of the territory of Lincoln for land to be set aside for new African people. That bill would not get out of committee, nor later would that bill be passed through Congress. But the idea of black new African people being migrated to the territory of Oklahoma, the seed was finally planted. Edward P. would later in 1878 move to Nicodemus, Kansas, an all-black new African town that was founded by former enslaved Africans. There, he would be elected county clerk and would create what we know today as Graham County, Oklahoma. He also became the state auditor of Kansas and held the highest office outside of the reconstructed South. Later on, he would move to D.C., where he lobbied to be the governor or secretary of an all-black state of Oklahoma. That didn't come into fruition, so he moved on to his next plan. Around that time also, this is around the period in time of the great Benjamin Pap Singleton, another great black nationalist, who was also in Kansas at that time and created what we know today as the Great Exodus movement, where he resettled over 50,000 Africans from the South to the Kansas territory. So Edward P. McCabe took that idea and would later move to Logan County, Oklahoma, where he also would become the county's head. During that period of time, near 1881, several other black leaders and Edward P. McCabe would get together and come up with the idea to create their own new African black territory and town. This town would come into manifestation as Edward P. McCabe would name this territory after he purchased over 320 acres of land. Edward P. McCabe, in his final years, would take his final stance and push for his ultimate goal to transform the whole Oklahoma territory into an all-black new African nation state. So many blacks were moving to Oklahoma at the time that the whites in Oklahoma, with the backing of the United States government, and the whites in Washington, D.C., would push back against the plan of Edward P. McCabe to turn the state into an all-black nation state. So the government in Washington, D.C. would turn Oklahoma into an official state in 1907. Edward P. McCabe, with that being established and his all-black new African nation state not coming into existence, did not stop with forming other black settlements in the state at the time. So many blacks came there that so many black settlements started to sprout all over Oklahoma. It still turned into an all-black state at the time, where blacks in several established black towns would hold control of governance and land. Edward P. McCabe would later on move back to Chicago when he finally realized that it would not become an all-black nation state. He would later fight for the rights of black people all across the United States of America. He would later die on March 12, 1920 in Chicago. Edward P. McCabe, black nationalist, land liberationist, attorney, land agent, would become an inspiration to all revolutionary nationalists and freedom fighters fighting for some kind of self-determination and land in the United States of America, in a territory that new African black people could call their own. So long live the spirit of Edward P. McCabe, and may his spirit live forever. Free the land by any means necessary.